Hello everyone, welcome back to this yet another new lecture series on ecosystem and biodiversity. Friends, in the past few lectures, we have been starting something about and discussing rigorously about what do you mean by ecosystem and what do you mean by biodiversities. Today, with regards to the same point, we are going to discuss one of a major issue which is very interesting from the point of view of competitive examination, and this is something called as hotspots. Now, to understand something about the hotspots, one should always have a clear idea about that we have completely been clear with the concept of biodiversity. Because unless and until you are not clear about the ideas of ecosystem and biodiversities, one cannot understand what is exact meaning of the hotspot. And here in the very first slide itself, you can see that I've shown you some of the geographical areas where you can find it is a hotspot area. That means a blue area which is being represented will be called as a hotspot area, and why it is called as hotspot area or what does it mean by the actual meaning of hotspot is to be understood in today's lecture. The hotspots or the biodiversity hotspot is actually a biogeographical region which this region is something about mentioning of the threatened species which is because of the human habitation. That means we have seen in the past lecture something about the threatened concept. We have seen three major concepts when we were talking about the biodiversity, and it was something called as rare species, threatened species, and the species which are completely on an way of extinct. With regards to the same, Norman Mayer, one of the environmentalists, had given a concept called as the biodiversity hotspots. He mentioned these concepts in the very first part in 1988 in one of an article which he had wrote during the study of the environment, and it mentioned about the environmentalist which talks about some properties of the geographical area, and these properties he then called it as the hotspots of that area. Later on, he further, with help of his some other team members, came on to a further study of the environment. Of course, there were a rigorous study of the environment, and this rigorous study means they moved on from region to region and place to place where they found some of the different species which were not typically found in everywhere. With they entitled it as endemic species, and on the basis of these species study and the count of the species, they further gave us a very interesting part with the second paper, which was again called to be as a revised paper of the environmentalist, and the paper was entitled Hotspots, Earth's Biological Richest and Most Endangered Terrestrial Ecoregions. So this was basically a revised form of the paper of 1988. This papers, that was the environmentalist and the hotspots of Earth's biological richest form, gained so much popularity that it was further then published by him and by his teammates in a journal, very popular journal, which is a science journal called as Nature. Now, when it is published in Nature, one should always also keep in mind that it becomes a very authentic kind of a work because it was something related to nature and its biodiversity. Now, let's understand first of all what do you mean by the biodiversities and hotspots of these biodiversities, so it becomes easy for us to understand what exactly we are going to study and what are the four regions we are talking about. So we know that biodiversity means something of collection of flora and fauna at a particular place. Like we have discussed in some earlier lectures also, it is something about talking about a region or maybe a particular area or maybe a particular environment, or maybe we are talking of a global place. So we are talking about a in total. But what it means by hotspot is it is a prime location. That means a location where there is existence of rich biodiversities. The complete flora and fauna which we are talking about in general is found at its rich in this kind of areas. So in short, अगर हम बात करने के लिए जाए तो अगर हम पूरा इंडिया ले लेंगे तो इंडिया में काफ़ी ज़्यादा अमाउंट ऑफ स्पीशीज़ है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर 2000 में जो एडिशन पब्लिश हुआ था बाय मेयर्स, नॉर्मन मेयर्स, ही सेड and he gave out two criteria to qualify a hotspot. But let's understand hotspot first so we can understand the criteria of hotspot. So अगर हम किसी रीजन के बारे में बात करते हैं, इंडिया के बारे में बात करते हैं, तो होल ओवर इंडिया में काफ़ी ज़्यादा स्पीशीज है, दिस इज द ट्रूथ। बट देर आर सम पार्ट्स इन इंडियन रीजन ऑल्सो वेर यू कैन फाइंड दैट द region is having variety, it is having richness, and richness and variety is the prime location. That means you cannot find these species at any another place, and this will be called as an endemic species. Now this can be something related to plants also, and this can be something related to animals also. Okay, now let's understand what Norman Mayer told with regards to conclusion of hotspots. That means how do you identify a hotspot? He gave only the two basic criteria which he found through his study. That means there were number of criteria, but later on he just compiled it into simple form for making the people like us to understand it in easy form. And these two basic criteria are: first one, it must contain at least 0.5% or 1500 species of vascular plant as endemic. Okay, so if you remember, I have just said the word endemic just few minutes before. So we'll understand these concepts one by one, but let's first of all move to a second idea, and you should keep these two concepts very clear in your mind. The second idea tells us that it has to have lost at least 75%. Okay, now these figures are very important. At least 75% of its primary vegetation. Now let's understand one by one. What do you mean by vascular plants? The first one, it tells that it must contain at least 0.5% of vascular plants as endemic. So what does it mean by vascular plants? So when we are talking something about the vascular plants, it means a form of a group of plants. It can be a large plant, it can be a smaller plant also, which has a lignified tissue. So you can see in this picture over here, it becomes easy for you to understand. Now how do you identify, or what is the role of lignified tissue is, it carries the water and minerals throughout the plant. So lignified tissue means, or also on a biological term it is called as xylem. So xylem या फिर lignified tissue का मतलब होता है टिश्यू जो कॉम्प्लेक्स स्ट्रक्चर से फॉर्म हुए होते हैं, उनका स्ट्रक्चर काफी ज्यादा कॉम्प्लेक्स होता है, जिसकी वजह से वाटर और मिनरल्स कैरी करने के लिए उन्हें ज्यादा मदद मिलती है. सो अगर प्लांट बॉडी में, हमने जैसे पहले भी कहा था, how the minerals will be passed from the root system to the topmost part of the plant, it will be with the help of the cell tissue, and this cell tissue is a lignified tissue which is also called as a xylem. Okay, on another hand, vascular plants also contain some plants. Okay, some plants are also having non-lignified tissues. That means they are not that complex tissues. जिसको कॉम्प्लेक्स टिश्यू कहा जाता है उसे जाइलम या फिर लिग्निफाइड कहा जाता है, और जो ज्यादा कॉम्प्लेक्स नहीं होते हैं उसे नॉन लिग्निफाइड टिश्यू कहा जाता है. ओके, जो कॉम्प्लेक्स टिश्यू होते हैं उनका काम होता है वाटर एंड मिनरल का ट्रांसपोर्ट करना, और जो कॉम्प्लेक्स टिश्यू नहीं होते हैं उसे फ्लोएम कहा जाता है, जिनका काम होता है फोटोसिंथेसिस करना. सो दिस इज समथिंग अबाउट द vascular plant. Now when we talk something about the vascular plant, we also should have the idea about what do you mean by endemism. Now let's understand something about the idea of endemic species first, so it becomes easy for us to understand the concept of the biodiversity hotspots. Now let's understand the concept with endemism. Now when we talk something about the endemism, we are talking about the species which are rare in its form. Now you can see the flowers over here, that these flowers or these plants, you can find some are very common and some on an other hand are very rare. This rare species is called as endemism. That means they will be found or they will be surviving, they will be only present in that particular region only, and that is called as endemic species. For example, you cannot find koala everywhere, right? Similarly, you cannot find red lizard everywhere, or you cannot find a particular island turtle or a water turtle everywhere. So it has a very defined area. It can live in that particular area only. Even though this is the true fact that now the geographical areas specially are being created for these animals. For example, we call it a zoo. But on and contrary, if you look at the nature of the animal in the zoo and that of the natural environment, you can find there is a large difference. So we have to understand that the animals which are very having a special kind of area of living, they will be called not only animal but also plants, like I've shown over here. They will be called as an endemic nature of species or called as endemism. Okay. So if you've understood this idea, we are going to move forward with the idea of talking about the country especially. Okay. So around in the world, Norman Mayer has given there are 36 areas which can be qualified. That means globe. अगर हम globe की बात करें तो globe counts about 36 areas जिसे हॉटस्पॉट्स डिक्लेयर किया जा सकता है. दैट मीन्स वहां पे स्पीशीज रेयर होती है, वहां पे दोनों क्राइटेरिया फुलफिल होती है. पहला होता है कि 0.5% वैस्कुलर प्लांट्स मिलते हैं एंड द सेकेंड क्राइटेरिया इज दे आर ऑन अ पाथ ऑफ एंडेमिज्म, दे आर ऑन अ पाथ ऑफ एक्सटेंट ऑल्सो. सो दोनों क्राइटेरिया फुलफिल हो जाएंगे. सो ऐसे कितने एरियाज है वर्ल्ड वाइड? 36. On and contrary, he also mentions that it supports of around. That means all over the country, अगर हम देख ले, all over the globe अगर हम count करें, तो we can find that 60% of it is of world of plants, animals, mammals and reptiles. So you can just find that ये species काफी endemic है, rare है. एक ऐसी स्पीशीज तैयार हुई है पर्टिकुलर लैंड एरिया या पर्टिकुलर फॉरेस्ट एरिया में जो कहीं पे नहीं मिल सकती है या फिर बहुत ज्यादा रेयर होती है, बहुत ज्यादा एग्जॉटिक. ओके, इसे एक दूसरा वर्ड भी दिया जाता है, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज एग्जॉटिक. फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर आप देखें तो ऑर्किड फ्लावर्स. Orchid flowers, even though we get these flowers in our local market right now, we can purchase these in our local market, but if you look at the feature and culture property of the orchid flower, you can find that orchid is or cannot be grown in the country like India, especially where it is a humid areas, okay, hot summer and humid area. Similarly, you can see with the apples also. So you have some such example which you can just connect to make it an idea of clearing about endemic and exotic. So apple is basically grown in one of the area where it is very low in temperature, especially the northern part of the country. You can't grow apple in the southern part, so that is the typicality. Similarly, you can find the coconut. You can't grow a coconut in the northern part because it needs humidity, huge kind of humidity which you find in the northern part or the coastal regions. So that is called as endemism. Okay. Some of the hotspots also he declared that it is around 15,000 endemic plant species. So you can find that even though we are talking about that plant species are getting lost, this is a true fact. But right now also he is saying that it is 15,000 endemic species and we can, if try harder, we can make these plants survive. And why to make these plants survive is major factor because it is one of the important ecozone of our country. So when we are talking something about our country, we should move forward that out of the 36 part there are two major spots. Okay, now I'm saying basically two major spots. Actually there are four major spots, but I'm saying it as two major spots because purely two are in the Indian continent, or and the other two which we call it as Asian continent is being combined. Henceforth, if you talk about Asia, you can find four parts or four major zones of biodiversities with hotspot regions, and if you talk about country, it is having two major parts. So you can see that we are compromising of around most part. So 36 out of 4 is a huge part, and according to the calculation, it is being told that in the country itself, that is in India itself, we have 350 kinds of mammals, 1224 birds, 197 amphibians, 2408 reptiles, 2005 fishes, and 15,000 flowering plants. Now, I'm not talking about the number of animals, we are talking about the number of species. So if you look forward, 350 mammal species in India itself, that means it is a huge number. So it is important to protect these species, because it is also a note given by the writers and the environmentalists that these species are slowly getting extinct. That means they are completely getting lost away from the environmental system, because of course of the human class or human society. So what is basically the idea of understanding this diversities and why is it important? The very first part which we can define as hotspot diversity or biodiversity of the country, that is India, is called as Western Ghats. Okay. Now you can see in this further lecture also, that means further PPT, that we are sometimes including the other continents also, as well as you can find we can including some other countries also, because we are talking about the hotspots area, and you should have a clear idea that we are not limited to one part, we are talking about a wide range of part. Let's talk something about the Western Ghats. So these are the basically hilly areas region. When it is a hilly area region, of course, it is having a typical nature, that it is having that means it is having the most rainfall. It will be mostly situated nearby around the ocean. It is having a good deciduous forest area. So that is the typicality of our Western Ghat, that it is having good kind of rainfall. It is much humid in nature, it is having a good rainforest area, and because of this all condition, that means this full fruitful condition, we find that 77% of amphibians what we find in the India is present in Western Ghat itself, and 62% of reptiles can be found in Western Ghats. Now one thing more should be always kept in mind, that we are only talking about an average number. It is not exact number, we always talk about the average number, but these average numbers are important to keep in mind. Reason is because it gives us the exact study area of the country. How much kind of amphibians or what kind of different species of amphibians are there, what kind of different species of reptiles will be there. So you can just find from the number itself that what different kind of species or varieties are present of amphibians and reptiles itself in the Western Ghats. Similar goes with the country like Sri Lanka, and which is the southernmost part of the country, because it is just few kilometers away from the basic end region of the country. So similarly you can find these areas, these kind of species in Sri Lankan areas also. So there are around 6,000 of vascular plants, and it gives of more than 2,500 of genes. So 3,000 plants on an average to be called as an endemic is a large category. And most popular plants which you can find in these Western Ghats, which are called as endemic in nature, like I said, endemism means something of talking about the species which are very rare at that particular area, and the examples can be like black pepper or cardamom. Now black pepper means one of the spice, and cardamom again is one of the spice which is very popular in each and every country, and which can be largely found to be grown in the Western Ghats. This ghat is having a typicality, reason is because of the Agastyamalaya hills also. That means it is a typical area where you can find large number of species. The typical southernmost part, so if it goes with ranges, if you go with the ranges, you can find the huge valleys are being created, mountain ranges are being created, which is having of course a good forest area because of the good rainfall. And because of this good rainfall, it is having a number of species which can be varying from the birds to the mammals to the reptiles to the amphibians, which needs to be conserved. So this is one such kind of example. In this picture you can see one of the kind of a rare bird which you can find in the Western Ghats only. But the problem with these hotspots, that means especially the Western Ghat, is that the species are slowly getting extinct. That means whatever the number we have seen, 77 or 62%, it is right now we can see that these species are getting completely extinct, lost in the population because of the human existence or human habitation, and this is ranging of around 43,000 square kilometer. So it is basically a huge loss, because if this loss continues, we will completely lose our Western Ghat area, the deep forest area, and the endemic species which we have or what we see right now around us. The second important part which is there to be called as the hotspot, one of the hotspot of the diversities is called as the Himalayan regions. It is also basically called as Eastern Himalayan regions, and it compromises of the areas which like Bhutan, Northeast India, Southern and Central Eastern Nepal. So like I've shown in the picture earlier also, there are some regions which have a major part. So you can see over here, when we talk something about the hotspot, these are very typical areas. So you can find that some are the mountain ranges, some are valley ranges, and the other part may be of the very extreme conditions, climatic condition, maybe very cold or very humid, etc. So Himalayan specially regions, including the Mount Everest and the K2, have a major area of the Himalayan hotspot biodiversity. It is of around approximate again, 7,200 meters, which covers of around 100 mountains at a range. So of course we can say that it is having a huge number of variety of species which can be found in these areas, and these species are one of the endangered species right now. Reason is because of course, like I said in the earlier few minutes back, that because of human existence over there, these species are slowly getting extinct, and one such example could be called as one horned rhinoceros. So I gave you this example earlier also. One horned rhinoceros is one of the species which was found in the India and the parts of the countries like Nepal, Bhutan. But what is happening right now, or actually happened right now, from the country like India, especially in the Assam region, wherever it was a one horned rhinoceros, you cannot find it right now in country. So we can say that it is one of the extinct species now. Similarly goes with the other kind of the species. For example, you can call with the water buffalo, wild water buffalo, which is one of the rare species. So you cannot find, I mean, you can find the buffalo everywhere, but water buffalo is a rare in its kind. Similarly, you can go with the hoppers or grasshoppers, which are basically found, or you can also call them as dragonfly. Basically, we know them as dragonflies. So dragonflies are basically idea of species having their existence in the country like India and Japan only. So you cannot find these organisms or these flies in any other country. There can be any other different species of these, but typically when we call about the relict dragonfly, they are only found in country like India and Japan, which are on an way of extinct, and hence they will be called as an endangered species. Similarly, around of different thousands of kind of around 10,000 kind of different endemic plants and animals can be found in the areas of the Himalayan regions. And here are some of the pictures, very typical pictures of the animals which we can find. For example, this is cherry peasant. So cherry peasant of course is the name because given to the bird because of the eye. It is having a typical color of the cherry, so it is being given the name. Next one is the western tragopan. Next one is Himalayan quail. Next is Himalayan vulture and white-billed horn. And these birds are very typical. Like you can find the vulture is one of the kind which is present in the desert region also, but this vulture is having a different speciality as compared to desert vultures. Henceforth we call them as the very endemic species, that means rare species. Similarly goes with the other kind of animals such as Asiatic wild dog. So you can find that these animals are very close in look for the animals what we see around us, but basically they have a very different characteristic feature. Their living style or living system is very completely different. Next one is black bear. So you might be thinking bear is everywhere, but actually the living system over present in the Himalayan region is very different actually. Next one is the blue sheep or a snow leopard or maybe a squirrel, a flying squirrel. So this is a very typicality of this squirrel, that whatever we find around us is a squirrel, which is normally a climber squirrel, okay, or hardly they can jump. But these squirrel, rather on jumping or flying, they can completely fly over from for a long distance also. So if they want to move from a one tree to another tree, which is a very having a long distance, they can actually make a kind of a wing structure and they can start or fly off. The third region which we should keep in mind while talking about the hotspots of India is the Indo-Burma region. So this is the same reason why I told you that we basically have two, but we also call it as four. Reason is some other continents, some other countries are also being combined with our country so that we can talk about these hotspots. So this Indo-Burma region basically has an area of northeastern India, Myanmar, China, Wuhan, especially, which is one of the popular country right now, Democratic Republic, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand. So it is a larger area as compared to Himalayan areas. It is about 2 million square kilometers of area. So one can find if the area like Himalayan region, which was very comparatively small, is having so much of variety or so much of rareness of species in it. What could be the idea of 2 million square species area of kilometers areas? So it has having a very different kind of a species which you cannot find everywhere, and these species are having 6 species of mammals. So these includes the large antennae, this one, the large antlered muth jaw. Next one is animate muth jaw. This is animate muth jaw. Next one is gray snaked duke. This is gray snaked duke. Next one is leaf deer. Then is swallow. Okay, now this is swallow, and this is animate stripped rabbit. So these are some of the animals which we rarely find anywhere. These are typical species. Similarly, now you can feel that monkeys everywhere, but of course, again, as I said, that they have a typicality of species characteristics. So you can find different kinds of monkeys, langur, gibbons, and water turtles. So these, especially water turtle, freshwater turtle, they cannot survive anywhere. They have a special treatment of carrying in a special island itself, and henceforth these are one of the rare species which are getting endangered day by day. The 1300 of around bird species itself can be found, which includes night heron, grey crowned crows, orange necked partridge, and plant species are having a different kind of number. The last area of the biodiversity hotspot to be studied is the Sundaland. This region lies in the Southeast Asia, and it includes the areas like Thailand, Singapore, Indonesia, Brunei, and Malaysia. So Andaman Nicobar Islands are also one part of this area if you go and considering about the Sundaland area, and these islands are declared as by United Nations in around 2013 as World Biosphere regions. That means they are the reservoirs of having huge terrestrial, aquatic, semi-aquatic areas for the growth of different kind of species. These includes the different kinds of species such as mangrove. So this is one of the example of mangroves. Mangroves plants which can be highly sustainable in the larger water resource areas also, that is mangroves. Next one is seagrass beds, and this is coral reef. So we have talked about the coral reef in our early lecture also. So if you have just rewind back for the coral reef. Similarly, the species which are very rare, like rare kind of crocodiles, fishes, prawns, lobsters, and dolphins, which you cannot usually find in the marine system of the country. Especially if you go to each coastal region, you cannot find the dolphins, turtles, whales everywhere. Fishes and prawns, in sense, means they are different in category, which you can find or which you can grow. But natural environment and rare environment is completely a different environment for that case. So today we have seen something about a major source of biosphere hotspots. Okay, that means what we have understood about the hotspots is these are the areas, especially when we talk about the country or the ancient continent. We have four basic areas out of the 36. So you should keep these figures in very clearly in your mind that out of the 36 we have four different regions, and these four different regions are Western Ghats, which of course also will include Sri Lanka. Next one is the Eastern Ghat. Next one is Indo-Burma Ghat, Indo-Burman region, and Sundaland. And when we talk about these hotspots, we mean that we are talking something about the rich biological diversities these regions are being carrying, and henceforth they are called as the hotspot region because they should be protected. Hence, it is the name given to the region, that is, they should be protected, they should be conserved, they should be preserved. So I hope you people have understood the idea what I have told or I am trying to tell you. For the next lecture, study hard.